All right, Hangouts is on the air. Welcome to Shaney Entertainy, everybody. Today's live stream, Friday night live stream, which I always do. Shut your bloody face. This is always my thing. At least I know the sound is working. So, guys, today I'm pitting my live stream against Jeremy's. Apparently, Geeks and Gamers is doing a live stream at the exact same time. And so, pretty sure I'm going to win this war. It's not really a war. I wish him good luck is all I do. But yeah, guys. So just so you know, I already know that. But doesn't he know that this is when I do my live streams? He should know this by now. Why? How does he not know that Shaney Entertainy does his live streams about 3:00 on a Friday? Meanwhile, he's putting his on now. It's unfair. But life is unfair. All right, guys. So today, I don't know if you guys have been watching or paying any attention. Last couple of live streams, I've been doing the Let's Make a Movie campaign where I make, hey, Wookiee Lives Matter. You'd rather be here. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And I'm glad you're here, by the way. You're so loyal to me. I love it. No, it's good. I'm glad you're here, man. I really am. I didn't know. I just looked and I saw it just said live stream Jeremy, and I'm like, oh, stupid Jeremy, you always gotta put your live streams all random like. Usually when we try to do our live streams, when I do with Fanatics Film and Death by Saber, we do it. We try to like stay away from other people, but not today. Today. He decides to come on. Death by Saber says 553 watch Jeremy's stream. I can't get a word in. Hey, there you go, guys. See, there's a good reason to be here. There's no reason to be there. You can't even get acknowledged. I'll acknowledge you. You know I will. 553 watching. Yes, but how many are truly paying attention? I don't know. That's all right. That's okay. I'll soon get there. I'll get there eventually. I have high hopes. But yeah, so I started today, guys, with the thought of doing my Marvel Phase. What did I put? Marvel Phase 4. I mean 4. and I really meant that because it's funny they put that out there, and as if we were like, hey guys, Marvel Phase 4 is here, and I'm like thinking to myself, oh, okay. And then I see what they have there. I mean, first of all, I was bored of it anyway. I am one of those suffering from superhero fatigue. So even before all this, he's talking about a female Thor. Jade, you want my hammer? If you want my hammer, Jade, then you're going to have to get it. Come on, jump, Jane. Come on, reach it. If you can reach my hammer, you can have it. Psych. Come on. That's what I would do if I was Thor. 5 foot nothing, 40-year-old, bony girl arms. My bloody hammer's bigger than your thigh bone. You couldn't even catch it if you wanted to. Even without the magic, you still wouldn't be able to hold it up. I don't know. I don't know what the rationale for that is. And I do. I do know the rationale. It's just, it's more of the same crap. It's just let's take everything that we didn't build because we deserve everything because we are women. Hear me, Thor. They're actually going to try to Squirrel Girl movie. I'm gonna see that just for the L's, the lols. Unfortunately, with a Squirrel Girl, at least it's something that's theirs. I mean, they can have it. I don't care. I respect that more than I respect them trying to take Thor or anybody else's stuff because it's not theirs. So, why would they, I don't really have any ill will towards their own properties. If they want to make, I know it didn't do well. No, hold on. Someone's knocking on the door. You guys enjoy the scenery. Someone's knocking on the door. Somebody's ringing the bell. That was the superintendent. His name was Mario.
It's me, your superintendent, Mario. I needed the keys. I accidentally dropped it into your box.
So that's what I was doing, guys. Hey, SK Wells, how's it going, man? Glad you can join me and not Jeremy. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so exactly that's why I'm going to see it. It's the cops flush everything. I just did. I ran to the washroom. All my nudie magazines. It's the woke police. You don't have enough female representation in your. You don't have enough LGBTQ representation in your porn stash. Not porn stash. Porn stash. Pizza. Yeah, guys. So, no, actually, that was my landlord. I think they accidentally dropped the keys, the whole keys to the building in my place. Because I'm actually right next to the main room. So they always put their own thing in the door, and I've got a bunch of people's checks and all kinds of stuff people put in my door. Anyway, do they have pizza in Canada? No, just poutine pizza. That's all we have in Canada, DBS. Just we get nothing but poutine and chocolate mousse. Our burgers, everything is poutine here, except for Vladimir Putin. That's a Russian thing. Yeah. I don't care. These guys can do whatever they want as long as it belongs to them. You know, my problem has never been about representation. I don't care. I think that we need more representation. You know, I think it's more fun when you have diversity and stuff like that. I'm all about diversity. I'm all about diversity, guys. I know there's a lot of SGWs that probably come in here and go, down vote. But I've never said anything otherwise. I've always liked representation. I've always liked to see diversity. But to me, it. First of all, what does it serve to make a female Thor? What does it serve? It serves nobody. Who does it serve to make a female 007? Who does it serve? It serves nobody. There is no fan base in which it's trying to accommodate. It's just there to say, nanny, nanny, boo, boo, I took a crap. And that's all there's even articles where SJWs are saying, I won't rest until I get all of your manly shit. They're acting like these SJWs right now in Hollywood and everywhere else. They're actually acting like, a crazy, divorcee. Like I'm just out for all your shit. But you don't drive. Why do you need the car? Because it's yours, motherfucker. They just want all of our stuff just because they want it. They don't need it. They don't want to actually use it. They're not going to go watch it. They don't enjoy it. They're not fans of the property. They're not fans of video games. They're not fans of comics. They've already destroyed comics. They just want it because they want it. Because it's not theirs, and because it's a spiteful act, and it comes across as sexist and hateful. And yet they call us hateful and sexist. And meanwhile, they're the ones who are actually being hypocritical about this whole thing. And we're sitting here consistently just going, at this point, though, hold on, let me just read you guys what you guys are saying there. I've heard about Canadian mac and cheese obsession. Yeah, there is. I won't deny it. The things that Canadians are obsessed with the most, I'd say coffee, poutine. Although I don't really like poutine, and I don't know too many people that do, but I know that there are poutine places everywhere. So there are obviously Beaver Tails is another one, and what else? We like pretty much everything Americans like for the same things. We just have different ways of just certain things are different. Like ketchup chips. You guys got to try ketchup chips. It's my favorite chips, and if you guys haven't, I know that I don't think you have ketchup chips in the U.S. But if you guys haven't tried it, you should one day. If you come to Canada, buy a pack of ketchup chips. The best. Wookie Lives Matter says, oh, sorry. Black Hat Cinephile. How's it going, bud? Glad to see you here. I decided that I'll let y'all create the story, and I'll help keep the feasibility straight. I'm good at feasibility. Oh, that's awesome, man. I'm glad you're still interested in all this. I'm going to talk about that briefly I'm going to talk about that right after I'm done with all this. Military lesbian feminists love these movies. Militant lesbian feminists.
No, I don't think so, guys. And this is what I think is the misnomer. I am actually privy to a lot of lesbians in my life. I've got my sister-in-law. I'm not going to say her name. She is, and I go and I hang out with them a lot because they're family, and not one of them is a fan of any of this crap. There might be some. I'm not saying there aren't, but I don't think this is a predominantly lesbian thing. I think this is a spiteful, hateful thing by specific women who, or not even women, doesn't even have to be women. It's just SJWs who are just trying to overcompensate. I think there's a lot of overcompensation from the Me Too movement. I think there's a lot of angry people because of Trump. And I think that everything, just to stick it to people who, like they've somehow associated MAGA hat, Trump, and somehow, white males and the things we love. So it's like, you guys got your Trump, so we're taking back everything else in Hollywood from you, to punish you for putting Trump in office. And I think there's a lot of that going on. And then there's also, where's my conspiracy hat? There's also, I think, a whole bunch of, I think there are groups of people who are just want to see division. They love to see the division, and they're trying to fuel it as much as they can. I'm not saying they're creating the animosity. I think the animosity might be there, but I think they're fueling the animosity and forcing it outwards more to create division and to create distraction. What are they distracting us from? I guess we'll find out soon enough. Black Hat Cinephile, the Hollywood SJW agenda backfires because the gays and women haven't been represented by Hollywood. Guess who's responsible for that? Hollywood is. Yeah, well, I mean, everything takes time. I mean, in the 80s, guys, I mean, I know for a fact, because like I said, I've got a lot of family members that are LGBTQ, and I've hung out with them, and I've been a victim of gay bashing myself. Even though I'm not gay, I've walked with my uncle who's very gay, and I mean very gay. It's not a derogatory thing, it's just the truth. And when you walk next to him, by association, you are automatically gay because he walks very, he wants everyone to know. And so, when he's my uncle, I love him. We grew up. He helped raise me. He babysat me. And so, but when I walk with places with him, I remember one guy just came up to me for no reason, and just straight out punched me. Straight, bam! He just hit me. I didn't even see it coming. And I'm not saying that's not a lifestyle I'd want. But I mean, to deal with that on a daily basis, and he did. I know for a fact he did. But now it's come a long way since those days. Now it's the opposite, right? Now you're seeing like it's a lot more accepted, and people are, and so these things kind of take time, and it's starting to happen now, and so it's going to gradually and naturally get into movies and stuff, and the more gay people who actually are lesbians, who actually enter Hollywood, which there's tons of. And always has been, probably just more hiding it. You're going to start seeing more representation, but it's going to happen naturally. But when you force this stuff in, when you force it and you make it, and then you claim it like an agenda, like nobody cared when Ripley was made. Nobody thought, we're making this woman film for women and blah, blah, blah for men. No one cared because it was you can make a female lead and no one would give a crap. We'd all applaud it and be, oh, that's wonderful. Let's watch this thing. But now they're making everything they do, every move they make, everything they do it's like there's a spite behind it. And when you're doing things out of spite and instead of out of passion or love for a property, you're not doing. Captain Marvel didn't seem like they were making Captain Marvel because they wanted to make a female film that they enjoyed and they loved and they believed in. The whole thing reeked and smelled of screw you. We're making this because we need, it's all propaganda and agenda based instead of based on love or based on any form of passion. And when you do things based on that, it comes across as negative and angry in a tone, and nobody wants to be part of it. Black Hat Cinephiles. Oh, sorry. I'm subscribed to a channel on YouTube called Mancheese the Great. Bunch of great gals over there. What are they about? What else to say? Paul Lind was so gay in the 70s. The far left weirdos think they speak for the Democrats and everyone think that the left is a weirdo, hence walk away. Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like I would have considered myself, I've never considered myself on a side. Like I don't like sides. My brain doesn't think in one direction, so I whatever I like, what I like, and I've always said that. And I follow whatever I follow. SK Will says, hate Christians, hate white men, hate tradition, but love Islam, love women, love races, and the gay. Well, really what it is hate the establishment. All the things that you've mentioned have been the establishment for years. So when you talk about Christians have been the establishment. White men have been what they, and I'm not saying this. This is what they're saying. I'm just saying this is what they believe. White Christians are the establishment. White men are establishment. Hate tradition because traditional stuff has been the establishment. Everything. So they're basically whatever they consider to be the underdogs of the world. That's who they're backing now, and it makes them feel good inside. It makes them feel good inside to help the less fortunates of the world. All those black people that come here, they're so unfortunate. It's pandering and it's insulting. Actually, what they're doing is more insulting than anything, because it's supposing that nobody can think for themselves, that nobody can act for themselves. And I'm talking about white people doing this. I'm not talking about black activists. I'm not talking about Asian activists. I'm not talking about SJW activists. I'm talking about, because those people know they're what they're gone through. It's when white people, put on their activist hat and go, I think that these poor individuals who are, and just think about the arrogance of these statements that they make, it sounds arrogant. It sounds almost like they're the ones who act and think of themselves higher than anybody else. And when you actually take that tone, which they've done, I'm talking about these white SJWs who are like acting like as if they somehow are just, we need to hand Linda Bone to these people, these poor unfortunates who don't have a chance in our society. Like, what are you talking about? Like these people, like tell an Asian guy who came from China, raised his family, in an apartment, put themselves to work. They put their kids through school. The kids, and they struggle their asses off so that their kids can have an education. Their kids get an education. They excel. Their kids are now doctors and lawyers. Same thing with Indian people. Same thing with other cultures. But they worked hard to get where they are, despite the fact that there is somehow, something holding them back. Just like something would be holding me back too if I went to Japan and try to get a job there. I'm pretty sure I'd be just, hey, you're white. Here's some privilege for you for coming to Japan, right? There's none of that. Mr. Record says, Shaney, when the raid Area 51, they will find high-tech moisture farming equipment. They sure will. Moisture farming equipment at Area 51. Hey, Nerd Blurb, how you doing? What's going on, everybody? Is what he's saying. How you doing? Glad you could join me instead of Jeremy. Yeah, I got a pretty not so bad. I know he's got 550 something, and I got 6, but I'm still proud of my 6. But yeah, guys, I don't know. We could talk about this stuff all day. And in the end, I think the best way to approach this, if you're us, who aren't, and this is another thing I'm just gonna say. By what they're doing right now, this attack, and it is an attack, and they don't want to admit it, but it is an attack. It's a spiteful attack, and it's sexist and racist. Jeremy is the devil, hence Shaney. Thanks, SK Wills. I'm not the devil. I'm the Saint Shaney. Saint Shaney. This dude is affiliated with Geeks and Gamers. Wait, this dude is affiliated with Geeks and Gamers. Who's affiliated with Geeks and Gamers? Me? so this was live and thought I'd drop by. Thanks, but no, I'm affiliated with nobody. I'm affiliated with myself. Who do I like? I like me. I like whatever I believe in, what I think. I don't have affiliated people. I don't know Jeremy. Jeremy don't know me. That's for sure. Anyway, so guys, I think here's the thing about all this. Like I've said before, I have no ill will towards wanting to see diversity. I like diversity. I wrote a damn novel series about a female superhero, so that's because I thought that it was something that needed to happen. But I did not believe that. But I don't believe that in taking stuff from other people and then going na 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 like it's hilarious and funny. And then what you're doing is you're pandering, and what you're also doing is once another thing that they are doing is they're actually making white people into martyrs, because eventually that's what's going to happen. This is going to get out of hand. Everything always does. And when you start having power corrupts. Eventually these people will start getting out of hand with this. It's already starting. And once it gets way more out of hand, they're going to turn the people who they hate, the people who they think are considered to be the establishment, and they're going to make martyrs out of us. And if they start making martyrs out of, we're the ones who people are going to start feeling sorry for. And then, then the tides are going to turn again. This isn't helping. The whole thing is to actually should just be to like, do you want a female representation, then make something new. Don't take Thor, don't take Batman, don't take James Bond. Make your own thing. There's plenty of female superheroes that are already in existence. Use some of those. There's already a ton of black superheroes. Make those. There's no need for this. And at some point, I decided I was going to talk about Phase 4. And so here, okay. So that's all I really have to say. Is anybody else? They don't like your kind in the Illuminati? LOL. Yeah. Well, they actually do apparently. They like everybody's kind in the Illuminati. They're just recruiting all over the place. So Phase 4, guys, it's boring. I don't certain things I'm kind of interested in. I'm kind of interested in Blade because I haven't seen Blade for a while. I don't, but it's PG-13, so what are you gonna get with that? You're gonna get a very watered down Blade, and it's not gonna be. I mean, it might be entertaining, but it's not going to be edgy. That's for sure. I can't see Disney doing an edgy Blade. Some of the other stuff that I've seen here, I don't really know well. I don't know what Shang-Chi is, so I can't really look forward to that. I don't know what Eternals. I don't know much about Black Widow. Black Widow movie should have come out a while ago. It's too late for Black Widow now. I mean, the interest in her is gone. I would have liked to have seen her story while she was around, but I don't really care. And I like Scarlett Johansson. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the character of Black Widow has never been an interesting one for me. Blade will fight straight white Christian vampires led by Donald Trump. Come on, let's go. Put on your red hats. Get your fangs. Let's bite some necks. Let's make our coven great again. And then they're going to come with forks. Get them! Let's see. Hawkeye is another one. Like, who cares? Like, I'm one of those that actually likes Hawkeye, but I don't really care about his movie. I really wouldn't want to see it. That's not really interesting to me. Wanda Wilson. Does anybody know what Wanda Wilson is? Wanda Vision? Is that Vision? Is that the new Vision movie? I guess they're going to do the White Vision, because he probably doesn't he? He turns into a ghost, doesn't he, in the comics? I think that's what I'm thinking. I don't mind that one. Seems a little more interesting. Falcon and Winter Soldier, two really mediocre characters that I really don't care about at all. I would have liked Falcon more if they gave him his original outfit. I'm more into an original outfit kind of guy. I don't care how silly it looks. I'm one of those that was really angry that I never got to see not one damn movie. Like, think about how many X-Men movies there were, and I didn't get to see one where he puts on his iconic mask. That really angers me. Like, not one movie do you see where Wolverine actually puts on that mask. That drove me crazy the whole time. That's the one thing that I would like to see them do when they come back, because he definitely has to wear that mask. Fantastic Four. I mean, do we really care about the Fantastic Four? We've seen them fail. I mean, one thing I do love about the Fantastic Four, I will say, is their villains. I do think the Fantastic Four villains are fantastic, and that's, to me, the one thing that I will say is interesting in the next round is because now that they have access to Fox and they have access to the Fantastic Four villains, you got Doctor Doom, you got Galactus. For me, I love Silver Surfer, and I don't see Silver Surfer anywhere here. I would have loved to have seen Silver Surfer. I don't see Silver Surfer here. Maybe in another phase, but that would have been great to see Silver Surfer on his own, not that. But he's one of my favorite characters as well. Black Widow relaxes men. Is that what Black Widows do, though? They relax you just so that they can eat you. That's what they do. They just stick their fangs and just they're draining men. I think Galactus will be the new Thanos. That's what I do believe that he has to be. There's nobody bigger than Thanos at this stage that they could do. So I believe that Galactus is going to have to be. But the problem with Thanos is the problem with Galactus is he's not an interesting villain in the sense that he's not very deep. He just eats worlds. He's the eater of worlds, and he does it because he's hungry. It's not really a deep character. It's not like Thanos where he's like has these deep emotions. Galactus is like, Galactus hungry. Surfer, send me to planet for Galactus to eat. And so Galactus flies to whatever planet, and he doesn't care. He's a force of nature who just he doesn't care whether or not he looks down on all living because they're beneath him. He's like godly, so everything's beneath him, and so he just eats indiscriminately. So that's why he's not an interesting villain. He's not interesting villain, but he is a powerful villain in that sense. Unless they give him more background. I mean, I guess they could always add more background and make him more, give him more depth. But I don't know. I don't know how much more you could really do with him. He's a lonely eater of worlds. That's all he does. He wants to get laid to impress chicks. What are we talking about? Who wants to get laid? He wants to. What are we talking about? Thanos isn't that deep in the comics. No, I know he isn't that deep in the comics, and they did a really good job with him. But he is a little deeper than and more to work with, I would say, than Galactus is, because Galactus he's a world unto himself, whereas Thanos came from a world. So there's something to write. You could write something around that. Whereas with Galactus, I mean, unless he's like part of a Galactus empire with more Galactuses that come from a much larger world or dimension, and I guess you could do something with that. But do I have faith that they can? I don't know. And what else is there here? Loki. Again, Loki is a villain, and I really don't like that they made him into a hero. They kind of watered him down that way. He's fine in moderation, so I don't know what they're going to do with him. Like him working as a hero once in a while, when it serves his purpose, is fine. It's interesting, but to make him a full out hero, which I don't know if that's what they're going for, it just sort of, I don't know. It's going to make his character less interesting, in my opinion. What else is there? There is What If. Okay. When I was a comics fan, I don't read as many comics as I used to. I used to love the what ifs. The what ifs were extremely fun. I used to say, like, what if Spider-Man was Phoenix? What if a Hulk fought Wolverine, or Conan fought Wolverine? There was a lot of interesting ones there. But as a movie, what ifs as a movie is, I don't know. I don't think it's interesting to me. I don't like it as a comic book, fine, but not as a full-fledged movie. I don't think that would be interesting, especially since they're trying to create an attachment to everything, and it kind of confuses the situation. Doctor Strange. That's the only one that I do like. Doctor Strange. I like this character. I think there's a lot to work with there because he deals with dimensions and realms, and monsters and magic. So there's always fun stuff to do with Doctor Strange, and to create a Doctor Strange universe is interesting in that in itself. I'm hearing this is supposed to be some kind of a horror film, so again, PG-13 horror film. So what are you gonna? I'm Doctor Strange. Boom! Oh! It's just a lot of jump scares. So I don't know. And then, well, I guess for kids it'll be scary. And that's it. I mean, really nothing to look forward to. I see there's no Captain Marvel, but I heard people like, well, that means Captain Marvel's gone. No, that just means you'll see Captain Marvel in Phase 5. And you'll probably see Black Panther Phase 5. And you'll see, I guess, Ant-Man and the other characters in Phase 5. They should have sprinkled in, I think, some of the other characters to make it more interesting. Thor, we talked about Thor. I don't even need to go into that again. Just rehash. I'm going to rehash another rehash, so that's just lame. But anyway, William Luther Pierce can be the new Phase 4 villain. Who's Luther Pierce? Do you know who that is? I don't know who that is. You might have to explain that one a little. So anyway, guys, what do you, all in all, I'm not all jazzed up for it. I think I've said this even before Endgame. I actually said this even before Captain Marvel. I think that Marvel reached the peak a while ago, and now it's going to go down. I do believe it's going to head downwards. I think it's going to die out. It's going to be a slow death. You're going to see some ups and some downs, but I do eventually think that it will run itself off. They will put themselves in a point where there's nothing left interesting to do, and they will kill the comic book movie. When Squirrel Girl is the only thing I might see at least a bad omen for Marvel. I want to see the crazy. Okay, who do you think they're going to cast for Squirrel Girl? I have an idea for that. I think it's going to be, oh shoot, what's her name now? The comedian, the one that always talks about being fat. What's her name? Comedian. The one they say steals jokes. Come on, you guys know what I'm talking about. She already has a Squirrel Girl face, that chunky face of hers. Shoot, help me out with her name. You know what I'm talking about. Netflix special where she was wearing a black tight outfit and she could barely get into it. They needed like a can opener to get her out. I forgot what the hell. I can't remember her name, which is probably a good thing. I want Kristen Shaw. I don't know who that is. I'm not up to speed in my actresses, I guess. Kristen Shaw. I don't know who that is. I like Kristen Wiig. I think she's good in a lot of things. Oh, Amy Schumer, yeah. That's what I was talking about. Amy Schumer. And I don't like Amy Schumer at all, but I just think she's a perfect Squirrel Girl. I just don't know why. I think Squirrel Girl, I see Amy Schumer's face. Just because I don't know. They seem very similar face. She looks like a squirrel in her face. She looks like she's storing nuts for the winter. She just always does. That's her natural state. Amy Schumer's natural state. Because she's storing nuts for the winter. Perfect for Faith. They will cast women of color. Yeah, well, they can cast whoever they want when it comes to that. I'm not watching it. I'm done with it. And I'm done with all of this, guys. That's why right now, I started my whole campaign, guys, of making our own movies, because Hollywood is absolutely, positively devoid of ideas. There's no more talent left. I'm convinced that the talent is the talent pool in Hollywood is very, very thin. There's very few really good, solid talent there. And I mean of the level that we're used to, like the Ridley Scott, the Spielbergs in his prime, the Cameron in the prime, George Lucas prime, all these guys. I don't think there's like J.J. Abrams does not hold a candle, in my opinion, to any of these guys. I don't think he holds a candle to the worst. So, but anyway, I don't have any faith that Hollywood has anything. I mean, maybe they have some new people up and coming, but I think the new kids that are coming in, they're coming in with an agenda. They're coming in with their anger and their angst about society and about, all that stuff. And until they can drop their anger enough to worry about the creativity and doing something with passion that goes beyond just your politics, then they're not going to get anywhere. There's nothing wrong. Spielberg got bad over time. Speaking of which, Black Hat Cinephile, I've been on this tear lately of obsessed about watching documentaries on the making of movies. I've watched some of them before, but I've just been binge watching a whole bunch. I watched the making of the new, forgot what it was called. I'll put it up, a link on it. It was a great one. Something about dreams. The making of George Lucas making of Star Wars, Indiana Jones, E.T., all these Jaws, all of these. And you know what I found? Kathleen Kennedy is in all of these damn documentaries. She's in every single last one of them. She had her hand in the cookie jar of each and every one of the movies I love. Did someone snatch Kathleen Kennedy's brain? Like, I'd like to know, was there like the invasion of the... I know that Death by Saber was joking when we talked about Area 51 and the anal probing, but I'm really starting to think that someone took... I mean, how could some woman... How can the same lady who was responsible, who was there to make some of the best things that I love, do what she did to Star Wars? And I don't understand it. I just can't get how the heck this is the same person. I'm listening to her in these interviews, and she sounds coherent. She sounds rational, like a rational individual. How did she go from that? Like, did something happen to her in her life that created this anger, this animosity? Something must have happened. She was kidnapped by aliens at some point, because how did she go from all that to where she is today? Because she was an ET. She was extremely important in ET. She was oh my God, like I'm like Indiana Jones. She was there like the whole time, and I'm like, how are you the same person who was involved in all these great films? Dude, how did you do this? How did you end up with Ryan Johnson? How did you end up with that? Spielberg is the same as all others. He ran out of steam. People try to what's creativity when they're out of ideas and their jobs. Well, here's the thing I realized about Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg had very few ideas to begin with. Steven Spielberg had a specific things he liked. He didn't create Jaws. Jaws was a book. He didn't create Indiana Jones. Lucas created Indiana Jones. He just directed it. He created E.T., but he didn't write E.T. He got someone else. He got Harrison Ford's wife to write E.T. because he thought about doing an alien flick of something like that. But he didn't even write that. He helped write it. He was there in the process, but he didn't actually write it, and it wasn't even his idea. Steven Spielberg's love is directing, and he likes to take other people's ideas and realize them. That's what his job is, and that's what he's good at. But he's always kind of faltered when he's doing his own stuff. A little more, I find. He's not. I mean, what was his own? I mean, Close Encounters of the Third Kind was his. I think was his thing. Third Kind, Fourth Kind. Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, he's a director, not a writer. He doesn't really want to. He doesn't really. I don't think he really enjoys the writing aspect of it, because I find he's a little even lazy when it comes to that. Jaws didn't even have a script. They kept going. They were working on Jaws as they went along. They had like the beginning. Well, it wasn't even his fault. It was the studio's fault because they begged him to do it. But they had like this idea of a script, and they had a book, and they worked around the book. But the actual screenplay was being worked on at the same time. And I find with him, it's more about how he treats the characters and how he treats the people. With his Steven Spielberg's, I think his strength is in cinematography, visualizing shots, seeing the finished product, asking for the best from a product, getting the best out of actors by allowing them freedom. Because there's certain directors like Cameron who will be hardcore, stick to the script, let's do this thing, and be like really like a slave driver, but more like a whip guy. Whereas Steven Spielberg is the opposite. He's more like that type of coach in sports. It's like the player's coach. Allows you to freedom to do what you need to do. Like, as long as you got the idea, I'll allow you some freedom to make what to use your talent. And that's why I think his characters are more fun, because his characters tend to have more freedom to do what they got to do. I like that sort of directing. But like anybody, though, you get older, you get cynical, you get more, there's a lot more going on in your head, probably less energy to do the things you want to do. I mean, if you watch Red Letter Media's Mr. Plinkett's reviews of the prequels, you ever watch those guys? You have the way they're portraying George Lucas directing that compared to how he was when he was directing episode 1 or episode 4 or A New Hope. It's like a night and day director. Who is this guy? Is this the same guy who was directing A New Hope? He's just sitting around. Let's sit around, have this. Let's sit around over there behind. Meanwhile, they were flying from this area to that area to Tunisia to all these other places to make these films. He was energetic. When you get older, you lose energy. You just want to, you lose a lot of. You also lose some passion and drive, I think, for things. Maybe maybe that is what happened to Kathleen Kennedy. Maybe she's done caring about making passionate films or good movies. Maybe she cares more about the agenda now than even making movies. I don't know. But that's why we're here, guys. Fans of movies, you, me, all these people here. We're here to make our own movie, and we started. And I really loved our ideas, guys. I'm Black Hat Cinephile, War of the Worlds. He said he would be interested for the aliens to come out of the ground instead of space. Well, he's always trying to be different. He doesn't like to pigeonhole his ideas. He didn't even want aliens at all in the new He didn't want aliens in the new Indiana Jones. That was all. And it's funny, he gets blamed for that because he's Mr. Aliens. And so, well, Steven Spielberg put the aliens. No, that was Lucas's idea. Lucas wanted aliens. And even Steven Spielberg tried to talk him out of it. He's like, I don't know, George, aliens. I just made alien film. I don't need another one. And George talked him into it. But he didn't realize he means aliens come to Earth with no one on it, and it waited underground for someone to show up for them to fight it. Yeah, that was a weird choice, to be honest with you. I wasn't a big fan of that idea. I thought that any creature that would live in the Earth for the longest time and then would be saturated in our pollution and then die off because of pollution was just a silly idea. Wookiee Lives Matter. Remember, George was trash over the prequels. We can't blame him for selling it. I'm not blaming him. Well, I do sort of blame him for selling it. George Lucas's whole thing in his whole life was anti-corporation. Okay, from the beginning of the point where he didn't want to, he never wanted to sell out any of his rights to anything. He didn't give toy rights. He wanted to maintain all the rights to all of his properties because he didn't want corporate America or whatever getting their hands on his work. He was very anti-corporate. And then he became the corporation that he hated over time. And even admitted that. He even admits that. He, from a guy who was anti-corporate to becoming Mr. Corporate, and then he ends up selling it. Then he says he sells it to white slavers. It's exactly his words. I sold my word like you. Why? There was no need for it. You could have sold it to someone else, or you could have, just given another director a chance to work at it. Why did he have to sell it? He didn't have to. Name one director out there worth their salt that wouldn't have touched Star Wars the minute George Lucas said he wanted to make another one. Then he would have had his hand in the creative process of it. Not like because Disney didn't give him a chance to even take any of his ideas. He decided to just hand it over to Disney. Like, I didn't understand that at all. Like that I found suspicious in itself. Like as if he was tied or someone forced him to, or someone convinced him. I don't know. No, he should never have sold Star Wars. He should never have sold Star Wars. And if he wanted to make more Star Wars films, then what he should have done was found a director. Steven Spielberg would have loved to have made a Star Wars film. And I'm not saying, and he almost did direct the Return of the Jedi, but something with the Union, and he couldn't do it. But somebody else, Cameron, somebody would have made that film easily, but he decided to give it to Mickey Mouse, and now look what we have. Oh, we got a bunch of crap. A bunch of not even crap. It's like even at the best, even at its best, I don't see Star Wars being anything other than a corporate cash grab at this point. It's just let's pander and sell to different directions and please everybody and nobody at the same time, and let's not create an original thought, an original idea. And the way Episode 9 is going, I don't see that happening as well. We are in age of what is that? Iconoclassism. We are in the age of iconoclassism. You might have to describe. I'm not sure what iconoclasm is. James Cameron would be good at wonder, but shallow on story. Yeah, I mean, he's never been the greatest storyteller. Mind you, Terminator is a great story. But I respect James Cameron for a lot of things. I don't think you need to be a genius to make a decent story. I think that even if you just take the expanded universe, you don't really need to write that much. The expanded universe exists. We didn't need to make new stuff. All they needed to do was take what we already had and make it into a screenplay. That's all you really needed to do. I didn't read any of the expanded universes. I just heard a lot of people talk about it, and some of the ideas I've heard sound really good. And I just think that, better than what I'm seeing here. But anyway, again, this was all meant for Disney to use as a vehicle for other things. And I believe Kathleen Kennedy she's got some agenda going on that I don't understand. Anyway, guys. Oh, so there's another thing I was looking at. As far as making movies is concerned, right? For us, like us and our ideas, because I'm also working on some screenplays for a different reason. Working on a new television series for me to do on YouTube. And I got some friends help me out. Lucas trashed. Black Hat Cinephile says Lucas trashed himself. He did what he was planning with Jar Jar, and people hated it. Then he could feel butthurt about it, but it was false. Jar Jar hated. We hated. He had the perfect win hidden away. And Wook Labs Matter says the story of episodes 7, 8, and 9 were already told. Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about it, but and SK Will says, and Canal Cast. What is that? And I think it was the other thing you said. Class broke icons, and Canal Cast broke icons. Well, yeah, they're trying to what they want to do is destroy patriarchy, destroy what we've got, and rebuild it. They want to. It's like we said, it's about destroying things, burning it down, and then rebuilding. And so they want to. I think part of it is about the destruction of what we know, what we believe, what we think, and then tear down what they believe are oppressive thoughts, oppressive, belief systems, and then rebuild. But the problem when you go through guerrilla tactics and when you do start doing stuff like that, you have to have, in order for us to trust and believe the rebuild. Let's just say it's a wonderful idea, and they want to tear down the establishment and rebuild this establishment and all this wonderful holding hands rainbow stuff. And that's great. But the problem is we have to trust who the next government or the next people are going to be. But if you're lying, cheating, stealing, acting belligerent, incorrigible, all these negative things that the left is doing right now, making themselves out hypocritical and racist and sexist, and then they want to tear down establishments and what they believe is oppressive behaviors, but they're becoming the oppressors to do this. Why would we follow them? I've always said I do not believe in becoming the evil to defeat evil, because you're left with two evils in the end, and that's why I've never believed in that. I always believe in the more turn the other cheek sort of thing. I always said, if you stand on something firm, and then I will follow you. But if you stand on quicksand, I'm not going to bury myself with you. For who else? They want to destroy anything little boy loved growing up. Fact. Yeah, well, because they're angry. They're angry about something, and I wish they understood what they're angry about, because they can't even come to grips. They can't even come together and understand and corroborate their own anger. They don't even understand. And a lot of them didn't even face the oppression, especially the kids today. What oppression are these kids facing today? Like Rose Tico complaining, the actress Rose Tico complaining about her oppression, what she went through. What did you really go through? You're 18 years old. You haven't done nothing. I mean, what did you earn? You didn't deserve. You're now you're in one of the largest blockbuster movies of all times, and you didn't earn it. You barely earned it. You did a few things, and then you got in, and that's fine because Leia didn't do very much. Hamill didn't do very much. But don't sit here talking about oppression and what you've dealt with. You've barely lived long enough to complain about anything. So now we're going to sit here and have a pity party for someone who's who's 18 years old and is in a blockbuster movie. I can't. They don't like. You're not talking from your experience. So where are you talking from exactly? Experience of who? People that you don't know. Batwoman was thrown out of the military for for being a lesbian due to Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which was related a decade ago. They are like new atheists. They don't give up on old arguments. And yeah, that's exactly right. It's like they're not talking about anything that is relevant today. They're talking about old oppressive ideas that I'm sure, like maybe in the 50s, 40s, 30s, 80s, there were oppression there, sure, but it's not relevant to this day. So what are you going on about? We've already been the change that you were talking about. And it's not perfect. The world isn't perfect. And yes, we could always improve. There's nothing wrong with improving and trying to improve. But this isn't it. And what getting me is the hyperbole of this whole thing. It's the women's march movements in our city hall, even in Toronto last year, where I've seen million people downtown Toronto, women, marching on behalf of women's rights, walking around with shackles, like wearing Orange is the New jumpsuit, like chains, walking around. I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? You don't live in the fourth world country. You're not living in some of these Muslim countries like Saudi Arabia or something like that, where to walk alone without a man is a problem. What are you talking about? You have all the same rights, legal rights, as everybody else. Yeah, there's always things we can adjust and fix for both sides, for men's rights and women's rights. There's no reason we can't keep working on it and fixing it. But don't act like as if you guys are, like you're not allowed to vote, you're not allowed to eat, you can't eat your food, without man approving your food. Like, what is this nonsense? And this is where it becomes disconnect for most people. Even for most women, don't even understand it. I talk to a lot of gay people as well in the LGBTQ community. They don't even like this. Most of them don't like this. It's just a minority of few who are really vocal in Hollywood and in media that are actually, perpetuating this. Maybe in the media circles this is going on, and maybe in their little microcosmic bubble, this is what's going on, but not in the normal world, not in the average everyday world. I approve of free will. Well, yeah, everybody approves of free will. That's the point. Free will is we all should be. We have free will for the most part. Yeah, there's certain things like taxes and death we can't escape, but But unfortunately, yeah, maybe those things we should work on. I think we should stop. How about we stop focusing on the things that are already free, and work on the things that aren't free, like death and taxes. Let's work on those things, because I think those things we should fix. But I know not everyone. No, and I'm talking about in the Western world, and I guarantee that. I mean, for the most part, yes, we can all argue about, secret societies and how they're conning us and stuff like that, and maybe even an alien conspiracy theory. Why not? We can throw in one of those, because I sure do love my alien conspiracies. But on the most part, the average person can, with enough willpower and enough push and motivation, can do things, can do most things we want to do. But I know there are a lot of oppressed countries out there, and I know there's a lot of oppression out there. I'm not trying to say that's obviously that is a problem, but we should fix those things. But we don't fix those things until we fix the world and to fix ourselves as well, as far as little things are concerned. But for me, it all starts with the banks, guys. And if we fix the bank, we can fix a lot of things. Now we're getting into a completely different conversation. But do you guys want to make a movie, or are we not making a movie today? Are we finishing this discussion about that, or we want to start writing something? Their only way to feel superior is to make someone else feel inferior. They don't know how to be better by improving themselves because they think they're already perfect. I think that these people are they have so little confidence in themselves. And I think these people hate themselves. When you hate others, it's mostly an example of you hating yourself. These people wake up in the morning and they look at themselves in the mirror and they think to themselves, I'm not good enough. I can't make myself believe that I'm good enough, and can't make myself believe that I'm strong. I don't believe I'm a strong woman. I don't believe that I can achieve anything. I believe that someone is holding me back, and I'm depressed all the time, and I've got anxiety, and I've got all these things. Usually, it's a projection of your inner self that you usually use to, like, the bully tends to be the guy who feels the most bullied. And in these cases, I think it's a lot of people who just are disillusioned, disenfranchised. They went to university, couldn't be what they wanted to be because there's no jobs out there for them, and they spent too much money in education, and they're angry, and they don't know who to vent their frustration out on, and they vent their frustration out on establishment. And to them, the establishment is white, oppressive males, Christians, like I said that before. And so it doesn't matter who they are, they're gonna vent their frustration towards it instead of trying to fix themselves and believe in themselves and push themselves. They're martyring themselves and looking for a villain and looking for someone to place the blame on. And they don't want to hate themselves, and they don't want to look at themselves in the mirror, because that's a scary process to do inner retrospection. You don't want to look at yourself in the mirror because you're going to hate the person you're going to see looking back at you. And so instead, they want to voice their frustration and anger at the people who they believe are responsible. And so that's what's happening. I think that's more of an indication of where we are as a society, is that we need to fix where we are, because I think that there's a lot of disillusionment, and now they're just throwing fists left and right in the direction they see. And you always start at the top, and when they see in the Western world that white Christians have had their way with the world for a long time, they're now going to try to take us down. But it's not about taking us down, and that's what they don't understand. It's class warfare. It's not race warfare, and that's what they don't understand. It shouldn't be about race. It should be about class. And I'm not even talking about, elitism. And that's what I mean by, like, we did have that, right? And this is one of my conspiracy theories, guys. And that is that there was a period of time where I do believe the focus and the energy was taken in the right direction. It wasn't used properly, but it was about the 99%. Remember that whole 1% versus the 99%, and the what was it, the Occupy movements that were going worldwide. I think that scared a lot of people. I think that scared the elites. I think that did. I think that for the first time we saw the fall of Egypt, and then we saw the pressure, when Egypt fell in the Egyptian Spring or whatever, not the Egyptian Spring, Arab Spring, I think, and the uprisings there. And then we saw the 99% movements. What happened is I think the elites got scared. They were like, oh my God, what happens if these guys start coming together? What if the 99% and they stopped fighting black versus white versus women versus LGBTQ? What if they started instead of just focusing on that, Arab Spring, that's right. They started focusing on the class system, and they start focusing on that. Then we'll have a problem if they start focusing on the real problems, which are the banks. Because I still think the banks are one of the largest, if not the largest problem we have. And so if they start focusing on Wall Street, which is, the financial system, well, and then we're in big trouble if they really start wanting to do that. That's when I think it was almost like a knee-jerk reaction. Suddenly it became get rid of the guns. Suddenly it became let's because they started fearing. They started fearing this, right? They weren't asking for greater secular democracy. That's why the West abandoned it. The Arab Spring actually gave you more Islamic government. Well, I think that was like, that's the problem, like I've always said, with uprisings, and I'm going to talk about that. But like every time there's been a revolution, the people who always end up taking power in revolutions are the military. It's always happened historically that it always ends up becoming you're always replacing, like when the France tore down their government, right? Who took over? Napoleon. It was like you're just replacing one evil with another evil. That's why you can't do it militarily. That's why you can't do it forcefully. It's got to be by a coup or some kind of secret, slip in or something. It's got to be a peaceful way of doing it. You can't force it, and it's always been like that. Anytime a revolution happens, it's always replaced by Caesar replacing the empire, or it's always something like that. It's never led to anything positive. The United States was the one exception that I can see where there was an actual plan, and the people who actually took over were able to organized, and because America was founded on a philosophy, right? It wasn't founded on just a bunch of angry rebels just tearing apart without actual plan behind it. The people who built the United States are the ones who actually organized it and had a plan for when it was done. Well, I mean, to an extent, it was an exception, right? I mean, there was some. I mean, the United States didn't fall into. I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying. You're replacing again one regime with another regime, but I do believe in, and I'm a Canadian guy, so I'm talking about the fact that I do believe, and like Canada got its independence, not through violence, but through just signatures, right? We just, and that's, I'm not saying it's better or worse. Some Americans said it's worse. We fought for our freedoms, and you guys just waited out the British Empire until you signed a treaty with the rest of Canada and we got our independence with a signature, not by sword, by pen. And mind you guys, the people who did found the American Revolution, right? Who did start, they were Freemasons. And Freemasons, if you look at the Charter of the Freemasons, if you guys, the Charter of the Freemasons and what they believe is pretty much verbatim the American Declaration, the American Charter of Rights of Freedoms, or whatever. You guys have the Independence, Declaration of Independence. But again, there's always exceptions, and there's no exceptions to a certain way. There are exceptions. I do believe there are certain exceptions that America has worked for the most part. However, there are still problems. There's always going to be problems. Right now, I think that the banks have pretty much conquered the world, and they've already conquered a long time ago, but they're right now, I think, the biggest enemy. And I think that when we look at the class systems, that's where I think the people were starting to rally, starting to unite, and I think they got scared, and now you're seeing this, all of a sudden there's this division. I mean, you had Obama was president. It was unthinkable before. I mean, I used to remember jokes. Black comedians would joke around about a black president, and how if a black president did end up being there, he'd be shot the first day, or blah, 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 blah. That happened, and he wasn't shot. He killed Surprise. In fact, he was reelected. And so we have this whole thing where this whole falsity about this race war and this sex war and this gender war. And it's all done, I think, to divide people, because we were uniting. We were starting to rally and come up against the oppressors, the George Soroses of the world. Wookie, that's okay. So let's go. Let's be honest. America Indians are doing just fine. Tax-free casinos and all. Come on. SK Will says one of the tyranny of King George was he didn't let them move into Indian land. Wookie lies. It doesn't mean that Hitler doesn't matter anymore. That's what it means. Jekyll Island, 1911. To forget which. Are you? Yeah. Great exception. We're discussing history now. Yeah. See, we're now all over the map. Now we're talking about history. Jekyll Island. But anyway, that all aside, I mean, we're in a situation right now where I think we really have to come together again, and we start, instead of coming together, instead of falling for their tricks, because I believe this is all just planned execution by certain elites. Again, I do believe there are people who are angry. When there are people who feel hopeless, and you don't feel positive, and you don't feel good, you don't know who to lash out at, you lash out at the top. But in their eyes, the top are the white Christian males. But that's not necessarily true. It's the class system, and that's what we're trying to tell people, is that the top isn't just color based. The top isn't gender based, because there's a lot of poor white Christians in this world. There's a lot of poor white Jews. There's a lot of poor white everything. We just need to understand that it's not about religion or race or color. You know, it's about right now. I believe it's about the system that is creating haves and have-nots, the divide between the poor and the rich. And I think that there are certain things that we have to adjust. I think capitalism is fine, but we need to adjust it. There are certain tweaks that need to happen. Or then come up with a whole new ism altogether. So I've said that before many times. You know, we have the brightest minds on the planet working on cell phone technology, and not one of them are working on new isms. And I would like to see a new ism, because we're talking about, you know, either socialism or capitalism, or, you know, how about some kind of meritocracy that we can come up with. I like meritocracies. How about we do a system based on meritocracy? I like that, which I think capitalism is supposed to be. But right now, there's a lot of issues with. Well, right now, I don't even think we're in a true capitalism. I think right now we've got this parasite siphoning in the middle, not allowing capitalism to actually happen. Anyway, the best kind of English tea is the bottom of the Boston Harbor. I am a monarchist, in fact. Well, Canadians we still have the thing with the Queen. Even higher than the Prime Minister is the Governor General, and she's the speaker who goes to the Queen. Anyway, so are we not talking about movies today? Is that what's happening here? What do you guys want? Because I was really hoping we could talk about that, but I think at this point I'm going to abandon that discussion, and maybe later on tonight we'll talk about it, because I think we're kind of in a different frame of mind today. Because I really want us to start coming up with ideas and making, taking a stand, not physically, not mentally, I mean, not strength, not militarily, not physically, but taking a stand creatively, and saying that, listen, we don't need Hollywood. We don't need you people. You guys want to have 007? Fine. We'll just make something else, because that's what we do as guys, right? When we created them in the first place, not trying to be a dick, but we created them in the first place. We can create new stuff that we love. Isn't that the point? Create stuff we love. I think I'm being ignored now. Jekyll Island is where the American money system was signed over to the Rothschilds. Yes, I know. I know about Jekyll Island and the Rothschilds. And I do know about all that stuff. We do. That's why I'm telling you that the banking system is the first system that needs to change. It's the monetary system. It's what we base the money on. If you can change the money system, then we could fix the world. That is the first thing we need to do. The first thing that if we do have an uprising, right? The uprising has to be, whether it's intellectual or even a creative uprising, what we should focus on our creativity is even on adjusting what gives value to the currency. That is the most important thing we have. Your streams always get crazy. That's why I'm here instead of Geeks and Gamers, LOL. All right. We'll get nuts. Come on. Let's get nuts. China is a republic, and so is the Soviet Union. Guys, so I mean, I think we should, if anything has to happen, we got to get rid of is the financial system. That's the number one system. This system where we have fiat currency that's based on debt needs to stop, because that's where we have inflation. Inflation creates problems, and it's okay. Like I said, if the inflation rises and at the same time, we're making money, but it's never like that. That's why when corporations start sending, to other countries, because they need to save money, they're not giving back to what capitalism is supposed to be about, which is the cycle. And that's why, the siphoning of the cycle is going, because they're not offering the jobs and the wages that they need to in order for capitalism to be successful. So we're just left with this giant hole of I can't afford this, we can't afford that. Certain people can and certain people can't, because if you have money in capitalistic society, you're great. You can invest and you can make more. But it's like the same thing with YouTube. It's the same sort of thing. If you got the subs, then the algorithms work for you to make more subs, and the rich get richer. Whereas in the beginning, it's so hard to break that boundary to get to that level where, you know, the algorithm works for you. No, gold hasn't backed our money in a long time. We haven't had gold, and I don't like gold either. I know if your people say let's go back to a gold standard or a silver standard, that created a lot of war and a lot of oppression in the day too, because not every country has gold. And so the countries that don't have gold were being robbed and pillaged by the countries that did have gold were being robbed and pillaged by the countries that didn't. So that's why I don't believe in going back to a gold standard. There's a different idea that we need to investigate for. And I know other people said a resource-based economy, where maybe oil and what we have as far as our as currency being like whatever the countries have to offer as far as agriculture. My personal opinion, guys, I don't think that money should belong to a region or a country. I don't think that they should have control over financial means. I don't think that a currency should be based on a country or on a government. I don't think they should issue money, because what is money? Money is energy. Money is just energy that we give, that we provide, that we extend to give ourselves work, to give worth to what our energy is. When you're working, you're providing energy, you're providing your time, and through that you're creating value, and you're getting it back in the form of an IOU or a currency. But who's to say whose value is more? Like, for instance, does a singer in our system, capitalism, yes. Someone who is out there singing or being a hockey player or being a baseball player, they're getting all kinds. They're the greatest in what they do. And so they're making, because they have an audience for it, they're making a ton of money. But is their money worth more? I mean, are they worth more than a guy who cleans garbage for a living? I wouldn't say they're worth more, because the guy who cleans garbage does a real service in the world. And that guy deserves something too. But in the system we have right now, where rarity is actually the currency, scarcity is the currency. The currency isn't about, it's about what's rare and what's scarce. Like if you have one baseball card that is not as many, then it has more worth. And that's also not a good way of running things, because in the long run, there's no motivation to have plenty. Because the motivation then it becomes consistently trying to create wealth, and that's only done by holding back surplus. And then you'll never have a surplus of food. You'll never have a surplus of things, because like of oil. You'll always have oil shortages because they want oil shortages. Oil shortages it makes finite, and so therefore they can raise the prices. And so we'll never know the truth about what the oil is or what the worth of oil is. It's supposed to be, because they're always going to find contrived ways of making. There was a diamond surplus one year, and they threw the diamonds in the ocean because the value was going to be less. I don't know. What I think the value of the currency should be based on is our time as individuals, what we are willing to put forth. So even if therefore that's the only thing you can actually quantify that makes sense for the individual. Like I always thought of it as this is just my idea, guys. You can tell me I'm full of shit and I'll listen to it, and I'm fine with that. This is just ideas. Fort Knox is empty. That gold now is the Queen's basement. See, if it was up to me, I would take gold, and I would make gold irrelevant. Gold and all silver, throw it all down the garbage. What's the point in having? I think, again, putting worth into a rock, an arbitrary stone or an arbitrary piece of metal, is a silly idea, and it's an antiquated concept. It's something that we got to start shedding ourselves from, this belief. I guess sounds very anarchist. Have early mayor or something in the city council. I I've always liked the idea of how video games give currency. Super Mario is spawned, and when Super Mario runs and does things and achievements, he gets currency, right? He punches a block, he gets currency. For as long as he achieves different things, the currency goes up. His own personal currency. And I've always liked the fact that we make our own personal currency based on our accomplishments and our achievements in this world. We all start off with something, and then as we get older, and for the more education we do, we get paid for education as opposed to having to pay for education, because our education would be a currency, and having an education makes you more worthy, not more worthy, but worth more, because you can contribute more to society. And in a society where we're sitting here trying to make it work, because if you were to break society down into its finest, most simplest form, which is, people in clay huts, having to survive in the wilderness, the people who would survive would be the ones with the knowledge, the people with the skill sets. They would be the ones with who you would rely on to. And that's why we need to consistently give education. Has to become, the more education you have should be the more we add to your currency, your own personal currency. Just have a Tim W credit system. It's fixed. It never goes up and down. It's based on the labor you put out at first. I think the guild system shouldn't return, and universities should be free. Well, not just, universities. I think anytime you add value to yourself in any form, whether it's through education, knowledge, you should definitely you're adding value to yourself and your worth. And that's what I think I think that's where our worth should be, is based on. It's based on, and it should be definitely free, because everyone should have the same right and freedom to do and be what they want. Because what we're doing is we're helping society by having an education. If you're uneducated, which is what they want us to be mostly, because they don't want us to know that we're being all hosed, and we're all being hosed. So of course they want to keep it elitist. But if it was free and we can all afford it, and we all did what we had to do when we achieved certain things, what we're doing is we're adding value to our system by having an education, by knowledge, and we're giving ourselves worth. And so I think that's what I think should be done, is my personal opinion, is that the more we accomplish in the world, the more we achieve, the more we do, the older we get, and the more we still keep accomplishing and achieve, the bigger our value should be. So that if you do your due diligence, work hard, doesn't matter where you are in the world, you work hard, you do what you got to do, you get up every day and you put forth an effort in this planet, you will always have money. You will always be fine, and you will always be okay. As long as you're doing the work, as long as you're getting yourself, and that's what I think by meritocracy is like, I'm not living off of someone else's dollar. I'm putting forth my effort, and therefore we will always be okay as long as there is that. I mean, there's always going to be people, you get sick, you get hurt, but there's still worth. You can still find worth if you're injured. You can still find worth and do something worthy to contribute to society, even if you are in a wheelchair, if you're not, But anyway, the final form of rot seeps and deposits. Then they drill it out. What is that? We're all paid in hookers and blow. The whole, it came from dinosaurs. So we're talking about oil now. Again, who knows what anything is, man? Because we're trusting the people who we don't trust to tell us things, and that's another problem where we are right now. We don't trust the people who have the knowledge, and we don't, and therefore that's why we have people who just doubt everything, because we can't trust. We can't trust the people who we want to trust to give us our knowledge. I wish we could. I wish we could sit out there and say, "Oh, well, this university establishment said that there is no cure for cancer," And yet, at the same time, they'll tell you that, hey, cancer, stage 4 cancer suddenly went away magically. How did that happen? You don't know. Maybe it was a placebo. Maybe it was what do they usually say? It went dormant. What's that word they use when they say it went dormant? let's not study that. Let's keep pumping drugs. That's what we need. We need more chemo drugs. That's what we need to keep doing. Let's not try to figure out why the placebo effect actually works. Let's not try to figure out why cancer just suddenly goes dormant. That's just some random occurrence that just happens. Some weird magical genie thing that just, and suddenly stage 4 cancer goes into remission. That's the word, remission. And I've seen somebody who had cancer and they went and it just spontaneously went into remission. And it's like, what are you talking about? How's that scientific? You can't study that fact? You can't figure out how that just happens? No, we don't know. Anyway, look at me. I'm getting all crazy now. This is way off topic, guys. I know that's why you guys like my live streams, because we just go nuts. I guess I might do another live stream later on tonight. Maybe I'll get Ben and DBS and we'll talk about movies. This is just gone crazy. All right, man. Wookie Lives Matter. You got to bounce. Good to see you. Glad you're here. I'm glad you came. Actually, I'm actually going to go too, guys. I think we're pretty much exhausted this discussion at this point. And I do love talking about this, but it's getting late as well. But we got to keep. I don't mind us talking about these discussions, having these discussions about the world, these honest topics that I think need to be discussed more often. None of us have real answers. None of us know the truth. And anyone who says they know the truth about everything, well, they're lying. Nobody does. No, not one person. We all have ideas and theories, and I think that it helps us to not get suffocated in our discussion, so we can actually, express our feelings in different ways. It replenishes, but it pretends it's limited. What are we talking about tonight? Me and my mother are having dinner. So Black Hat Cinephiles says it replenishes, but pretend it's limited so they can charge more. But highways and airways are always busy decades after decade. Well, anyway, yeah, we can go on forever about these discussions. I just really think that maybe we should have more of these kinds of discussions. I always thought about getting a channel specifically for this kind of topic, because these are important discussions to have, because I think that there's a lot of people out there who just don't, who are just throwing wild and angry just accusations, and we don't know like what's the right thing to do. And I think a lot of kids out of university, they're told things by professors, but they've never lived life. They don't know what it is really out there. And I think a lot of times that's why I think the white men, Christian white men, if you want to say, are the targets, is because they don't know who else to attack. And because we're the easiest target right now, that's why they're attacking us. And even white people are attacking us. I love that when I see a white person talking about how white people are a certain thing. And then I'm like, have you looked in the mirror? Because if you're claiming that white people by nature are a certain way and you are white, somehow you maybe don't have a mirror at home. You got to look at yourself in a mirror and see that you're the color of the thing you say is is oppressive. Therefore, by nature, by the simple nature that you're just rules by you're creating, you are also oppressive. So, somehow you're above it. I never understood that. Anyway, guys, follow God. Yeah, well, listen. I think God is something that we can all feel, and if in our own way, and as long as it's healthy and it makes us feel good and makes us, then I say fine. We should do what we got to do. Do what we feel is right, as long as it is, it's healthy and it's not hurting anyone. So I can claim to not be white. Oh, so you're 1/6,000 Indian, so you can claim not to be white. Well, I've heard people say that I'm not white because my background is Portuguese, and so I've heard people say, "Oh, I don't." I had people I worked with telling me I hate white people, and I'm like, Yeah, gee, I wish I wasn't one of those. So I said, gee, I'm glad I'm not one of those. He goes, oh, I don't consider you white. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, oh, you're Portuguese. You're got more of an ethnic background. I'm like, my skin says otherwise, but I don't know. Anyway, guys, so I am going to leave. I am making a film. I wanted to end this. I'm going to say this to you guys right now. Be hopeful. Be hopeful. I do think that there is this. The sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow. And I know a lot of Americans think that the country is going under and the world is going to fall. It's not, man. We're just in a state of flux. We're just in a state of flux right now. I think human society right now is undergoing an evolution, and it takes time, and it's never an easy process. When society is evolving into a different state. I think it has to evolve into a different state. And so there's always going to be resistance, and there's always going to be fighting. It's never an easy thing that's going to happen. And I think right now we're in the middle of a transitionary stage. And I do think in the end of it, though, we will be prosperous, and we will come out of it. This is just a really hard time at the moment. So, but I think if we stay true to ourselves, stay true to our inner values, and what we believe, I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be all right. And then we stay with each other and just be, stick with your friends and your family, and that's things that matter the most, and what you want and what you believe. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'm glad you guys are here again. I am working extremely hard. I mean, I do want to do this movie stuff, where we make our own movie and we come up with our ideas. That is extremely fun, and hopefully next time I do this, we do more of that. Maybe I'm going to start off with that, because I think if I start off in this tone, it continues. But I'm also want to tell you guys I'm working really hard on a project that my own sitcom sort of comedy adventure that I've been working really hard on with a few other channels. And I've almost finished the script on that, and I will film it in a week or so, and it's going to be an ongoing series, because that's what my goal is. My goal, what I've decided I want to be in my life, is I am an entertainer by heart. I want to make people laugh. I want to make people smile, and I want to entertain people. And that's what I'm here to do. And so I'm hoping to do that more in the near future. All right, guys. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. SK Wills, glad you're here. Black Hat Cinephile, glad you guys came. Check out each other's channels. Wookiee Lives Matter, thank you. Death by Saber, thank you guys for coming. Check out each other's channel if you can. Sub, you guys know each other anyway. Who else was here? Anyway, so that's it. I'm glad you guys decided to come to me, not Jeremy, today. I'm gonna have to work my schedule around Jeremy's schedule. It's just never. I wasn't all right. It was okay turnout for that, even though. All right, guys. So I'll talk to you later and see you guys soon.